Thank you for having me. I'm definitely excited to speak to this wonderful audience, share my journey, my testimony living with CP, and a bit about how I got into adaptive fitness and sports and how it changed my life. So I'm definitely happy to be here. Happy to hopefully change individuals' perspective on disabilities and fitness, and just so that they can find something to enjoy and leave with a sense of confidence and pride. So today I would like to share a presentation I made with you all, highlighting my fitness journey. So I will go ahead and hold up for you all. So today's presentation will be adaptive fitness. So what is adaptive fitness? Adaptive fitness is basically uh, you're using normal fitness equipment or techniques to help you achieve your fitness goals. However, um, adaptive fitness doesn't necessarily mean you do things just differently. You use equipment, but you use that equipment as a way um, to find or as a way to find yourself to get in shape. I guess like I always usually say is improvise, adapt, and overcome. So to begin, um, I began my journey towards fitness at 8 years old. However, for me, fitness wasn't just about just enjoying it or anything. It was more of like staying fit and active. And that began through my parents. My parents were always trying to find ways to help me stay active. Um, my mom especially, who would constantly take me to therapy, try to get me involved in as many things as possible. Because as a somebody who has a physical disability such as CP, it's very important that we stay moving and stay active. And I was always told, if I didn't keep on moving, I used to be in a wheelchair, so I would have to push myself in a sense to move, because I used to be one of those kids that used to sit around all day, didn't really care about moving around, and my parents were those parents that would be like, hey, you need to move, um, you need to go out there and socialize with others, and they were a pivotal point in me getting into fitness and into getting into physical therapy early on in life. Um, One of the things that my my mom used to always say is, you have one disability, take advantage of it and do something positive with it and constructive and inspire others around you and make a difference in the world. And so I started out with baseball. Baseball, I began around when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I played for about 8 years. Um, of course, I started in the very first leagues for children with disabilities in Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico at the time where I lived in a small town called Sidra in Puerto Rico. They didn't really have a league there. So my stepmom or my mom now took it upon herself and the initiative to start a league with those with disabilities. And the main goal was for those kids in that league to be able to shine and showcase their disabilities and just have fun, enjoy themselves, and show a lot of the parents and people watching in those games that these kids have more potential than you think. A lot of these kids are intelligent, they're incredibly smart, but they don't have the platform, and sometimes they may not even have the support to show that they're capable. So one of the first outlets for me was baseball, and I really enjoyed playing baseball. I really enjoyed, seeing my parents happy and just enjoying themselves. And to this day, I credit my mom for a lot of the things that she did, especially with baseball and sports with children with disabilities. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be introduced to really baseball. And then I played in Puerto Rico for about, I think it was about a year there, and then I moved to Florida. And in Florida, we moved into a small town called Sanford, and she began a league there. And then I don't really recall what happened exactly, but I know that the league was moved from Sanford to Oviedo. So I played in Sanford for quite a bit, and then I played in Oviedo, played in that league there. And she also, like I said, she was a pioneer for sports and the small town of Sanford and Puerto Rico. The league and the baseball league consisted of a buddy system. So each player on that league had a buddy. So the buddy's responsibility was to make sure that the child had an opportunity to, whether it was to catch the ball, whether get assistance and setting up the plate for them to bat, uh, have fun with them, feel like they're important. The main thing with the buddy was to make the child or the player really prosper and flourish, and at the same time you're building that relationship, that friendship with them. And that was something that I kind of liked, to see that being encouraged, because a lot of sometimes everybody needs a friend. Let's just say that everybody needs a friend, especially when you have a disability. And I remember myself sometimes, growing up, I struggled a little bit, making friends. But as the years progressed and I became more social, I started making friends, and I started seeing who was there for me and who was there to encourage me and understand me. And I really enjoyed that first taste of sports and friendship and just getting to know people. And throughout my time playing baseball, I was always behind the plate. So I was always catching balls. And sometimes, these players were so excited that the bat would go flying. And I would have to try to, my buddy would have to try to duck it so I wouldn't get hit. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun playing baseball. And I credit my mom with that, and my both my parents for being so encouraging. So this picture right here, I'm sure my mom's looking at this right now, thinking, why do you have this picture up? Well, she actually, in one of the games, she stepped up and became my buddy for the game. Um, and as at the time, I used a red walker, so I wasn't really using the cane or walking, semi unassisted. So she there, she's actually, I think, she's actually making sure that when they hit the ball, I run the bases. And the difference with this league was there were some rules made where I would run maybe halfway to first and they would mark safe. But it really depended on every child. So every child was different. So because I wasn't a fast runner, they tried to adapt it so I wouldn't have to, so I'd make it to at least halfway or at least three-quarters of the way, and that would be marked safe. So and and then from there, I actually went into cycling from '01 to '03. Now, let me tell you something about this. This was the time where I was in school, and then I started with cycling, and then we're talking about a full on schedule. So not only did I have to balance school, but my parents had to balance taking me to like to practices. I would have baseball practice on Wednesdays, and then some Saturdays I'd have cycling practice. And then after that in the morning, I would have um I would have I think it was baseball in the afternoon, and then so it was a busy schedule. And during the time that I was cycling, I competed for about 2 years, and I won three gold medals and one silver in the Special Olympics. So I started competing locally. So here in Stanford, then I worked my way up to uh, to regionals, which I don't remember exactly where it was, but I know that for the state, it was in Tampa. So I competed in Tampa for about 4 years, and I won three gold and one silver. Unfortunately, my last year I did not place, and I was a kid at the time, so as a kid, and I hadn't, I didn't know what it meant to lose, and I remember just breaking down, just upset about losing, and my parents were having it. They're like, you should you should learn how to lose, and this and that. And over the years, I learned that it was okay to lose. It's okay to not make everything. It's okay to have to try again and to have to work and to achieve that success again. And I rode 2 laps around the track. I tried to remember what category it was, but I remember that my dad was a main focal point in cycling because he would always come in and focus on me. Meanwhile, there was another coach, but the other coach focused on all the other cyclists. So half the time, when I would be competing, he tried to make sure for me to take the shortest lane possible so I'd make the quickest time. However, the other coach would be like, "Oh, it's fine. Just take any other lane and go make the time." But I would listen to my dad the most because he knew what he was doing. So, um, and also he would make sure that my equipment was working, and we would practice on certain weekends, riding around the track, and he was a main focal point in me being successful. One of the bikes that I used to kind of start out was a trek bike, and I don't know if you see what adaptations it has, and I'll go into more detail on the next slide. But it has the footrest for a chair and some other adaptations there as well. And then some of the bike adaptations that I had was they he worked on something to reinforce the bike to lessen shift and weight from a poor balance, because with my CP, my balance and riding a normal bike, they don't mix. They really don't mix. Like, you put me on a regular bike, I'd end up falling sideways on the floor, and on the ground. And trust me, no one likes that. uh, the pedals were actually adapt. So you have your normal bike pedals that were adapted, that are there. And then I had a wheelchair, a regular wheelchair at the time. So they took the pedals or the footrest from that chair and mounted them onto the pedals themselves. And from there, I was able to move the bike forward using my strength. And then also, he had molded bars specifically with a stainless steel on each side. And also, we put some scooter wheels on the side. So, kind of like training wheels. So the bike would remain stationary when I would ride. And to kind of go back a little further, I actually started with a stationary bike, and my mom used to help me learn how to pedal because at the time I was very limited in functionality. So she helped me work on moving my legs to the motion of the bike, and eventually I caught on and I started riding, and then I actually got my first bike at 8 years old. It was actually a tricycle, And I used to compete with that as well when I used to compete in cycling. And the funny thing is, I still have the bike to this day. 22 years later, that bike is still there in great condition. And it was one of the sports that I probably enjoyed the most. I probably enjoyed biking the most because it was something that that I look forward to, and always something that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed riding. And then here we transitioned to football. And football, I played from '06 to '08. And at the time, there was no football league in in Seminole County, or I don't know if in the state of Florida. Florida was more, but I know that in Seminole County there wasn't one. So one was started, and of course they followed the traditional method of the buddy system. And I was paired with a buddy from, this was at a high school. So the high schools would, I guess, assign players that were interested in joining the league to help out um, different players with disabilities on the field. And I had three different buddies. So this was actually my first year there playing in the league, and I actually did played running back and center because I can't catch a ball. We all know I can't really like run. I can run, but not really. So I was always placed as a running back because I could carry the ball and sprint, quote unquote, as fast as possible. And the league was modified to have flag football. So there were no pads, there was no hitting, and I think there was no scoring. Or if they did score, it wasn't really scoring. It was just to show that we were actually playing an actual game and to make it feel like it was an actual atmosphere there. And that experience was great. We got to I got to practice every Wednesday with the team, and we bonded with the team, and we had a chance to play at Disney and to play in the Challenger exhibition, the very first one there. We played against a team from DC, I think it was. And as a player, to be honest with you, I did my best, but baseball was my strong suit. I was better at baseball than I was at football. Um, and as I got older, things kind of shifted. I had to focus more on school and future endeavors. As far as wanting to go to college, pursuing a degree, things like that. And then here, I actually have a little highlights to share. Oh, I guess it. Oh, there we go. And there, I'm actually. My buddy caught the ball. I actually was given the ball, and I ran past like two tackles, three tackles, and I'm scoring a touchdown there. Up. Okay, so to kind of go into detail on the sports. So it's very important for us to find ways to adapt ourselves to fitness, whether you have a physical disability or not. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that when it comes to adaptive fitness, you have to know your limitations as far as what you can do, what you can't do. Um, I learned this the hard way, but but quality is better than quantity, because I used to be one of those one of those individuals that would work out, and I used to lift as much heavy weight as possible. However, um, I would never listen, so sometimes I would get hurt, and that wasn't always fun because I wouldn't be able to go to the gym or do other physical activities that I would do. Um, Having CP, you have to be mindful that you can't lift so much weight, but go lighter on the weights and a lot more reps. That way, you can get more out of your workout and be more efficient. Um, and and all this is the reason I did all these sports was because of like I said, the encouragement and the inspiration from my parents, and also to kind of highlight a little bit about myself. I went on to after the sports, I went on to go to college and have my degree. Of course, I finished all my regular schooling, and I got my degree in sociology. And all the hard work and the dedication to sports and stuff, it began with my parents, and from them, I kind of caught on, and I learned, and they taught me that if you want to succeed in everything you do, it's on you. You have to want something in order to achieve success. And and I appreciate also my family, my friends, everybody here that's watching today that I've met personally, or I've had on the podcast, or they just know me in general, you know. And one of the things with disabilities is, in order for people to know what you have and kind of not just respect you, but to see you as a whole, as a person, you have to be willing to have the courage to get out there and speak and advocate. And that is something that I was taught early in life is every single year when I would go to school, I would always be told, talk about your disability, because as soon as you talk about it, kids will understand. You know, kids won't be as they won't ask so many questions. They'll be less inclined to bully you because they know that your disability is normal, and they know that you are just a normal human being. You just have certain limitations that stop you from doing certain things. So, you know, if it wasn't for my folks, everybody out there, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I look forward to everyone's questions, and I look forward to responding. And I'll definitely share the link to where you can find more about myself. And I had fun doing this today. So thank you guys. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for David before we end this presentation? I haven't seen it. I saw, hey, David, in the webinar chat.
Oh, it's from Nicole. Hey, Nicole.
Doesn't look like I'm seeing any questions. So thank you so very much for your time. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate being here today. It was a lot of fun.